No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today I'm very excited to have Nick from Trainer Tips on the podcast. For those of you out there who are not interested in Pokemon Go, I can assure you that this is a very interesting dude who I've been paying attention to for about the last 6 months. And it's not just a story of a guy who has caught in so many Squirtles that it would make you blue in the face. This is a story of a guy who about 6 months ago started a business, a YouTube channel, probably didn't really expect it to be a business, I'm guessing, and has basically become one of the foremost guys in the mobile gaming Pokemon category. And I am a daily viewer of his channel. And Nick, it's a real honor to have you in the studio here as somebody who has wasted a huge amount of my time over the past couple of months.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that, I guess.
Okay, so an interesting thing about you, I guess we could start here, is that you actually knew that Pokemon Go was going to become this huge phenomenon because you're one of the very few YouTubers who was actually excited about the game before its launch. So can you tell me about like what your perception of the game was going to be before it launched and what you thought your channel was going to be? I'm sure it's a little different than what it ended up being.
Yeah, it's really different actually. When the first trailer first came out, Juan and I watched it. Juan was my partner on the channel for the first like month or so. We watched it and we thought this is like something that we've been waiting for our whole lives. Cause you know, you watch the trailer, they really hyped it up and made it seem like, it's Pokemon in the real world.
Right.
And as you know, two people had been playing Pokemon games since we were kids, pretending like, oh, I'm going to go on a Pokemon adventure, whatever. It was finally like possible.
Right.
So we decided to start a channel. Because at the time I was working with my cousin, Dante Bosco, who's an actor.
Right, who's in the vlogs quite often. Shout out to Dante.
Yep. I'd been shooting for his channel for like a year at that point.
Mm-hmm. And just doing like what, filming and editing stuff? So you already had that skill set sort of?
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Just like whatever he wanted to shoot. Sometimes sketches, sometimes just like whatever the fans wanted to see.
Mm-hmm. So weird, but at least it's not affecting the sound anymore. The lights are flickering on and off for those who are listening at home. This is quite strange.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to ignore that.
Thank God you're not epileptic.
So, we decided to start the channel. Just kind of thinking like this is an opportunity to live out this fantasy that we've had. And we kind of thought in our heads, like, best case, we'll get some kind of sponsorship. Someone will be paying us to, like, travel around the world catching Pokemon.
Right.
That was, like, the main, like, thing that we had in our heads when we started. And so we just started. We started in January, 6 months before the game came out, and just started with, like, basics. Like, what is the game? What's it going to be about? And then we did some speculation stuff. At this point, we were really struggling to come up with ideas. We did like best budget phones to play Pokemon Go.
And you really didn't know almost anything about what the game was going to be like at this point, right?
No, at that point we had seen the trailer only, but we were like religiously refreshing the Silph Road every day. One of the earliest resources, a subreddit that was dedicated to the game. So like as soon as news came out, we knew about it.
Right.
We would try to meet up, get together, shoot something about it. And for the first 6 months, from January to July, before the game launched, the channel made it to 2,800 subscribers.
Were you feeling good about that, or?
Yeah, I felt fine about that.
Some growth, considering that the game wasn't even out yet.
Yeah, and I think we made maybe a dozen videos up to that point.
Right.
And I think all those people came from the Silph Road, because that's where we were posting everything. And then the day the game dropped, we shot like a 30-minute video, and I just decided, you know, how to play Pokemon Go is going to be the top search for the next month, I'm sure. So I just called the video How to Play Pokemon Go. And it ended up taking off. To date, I think it has 9.5 million views.
Wow.
But most of that came within like the first month. But it really blew up, and I sort of established in that video that we were going to be uploading daily, because that's kind of the only way to succeed on YouTube.
It's
really
tough any other way.
Yeah.
It's weird because like a few years ago, it was like, oh, you got to post weekly.
Right.
Jenna Marbles, you got to do it weekly. And now it's like, man, you need like a few other jobs if you're just posting weekly, right? It doesn't sound like enough to do. I don't know.
Yeah, man, they really changed it up.
Standards, right? It's fucked.
Yeah. So I kind of just established that from the first video, and then I just went at it every single day. And the growth at first was insane. We made it to 200,000 in like the first 2 months, I want to say.
Right.
And there was a point where we were gaining like 20,000 subs a day.
Right. And so did you expect, was there any semblance of a thought in your mind that maybe Pokemon Go would become as popular as it did during the first couple of weeks?
Not anywhere near that.
Right.
No. I knew it would be cool. I knew a lot of people were into it.
Right. There's a lot of mobile games out there.
Right.
Even that have big licenses from big, brands or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was definitely could have not been as big as it was. But
no, yeah. I knew for sure that everyone who had played Pokemon as a kid would be into it.
Right.
But what I didn't expect was for, people who had never even touched Pokemon before. Mm-hmm. Like, had you played before?
Yeah. I wasn't familiar because I played Magic the Gathering. And, I was a little too old at that point. Not too old because we're about the same age, actually. But I just sort of avoided it, throughout my youth, even though I knew a ton of people were into it. And
yeah.
So, no, yeah, I just got it because I've always been into video games, but then I kind of got out of them in my late teens. And I recently have been thinking, especially with being on YouTube so much and games being so big in general, I was just, kind of thinking maybe I'll get a little bit more into gaming. And then when it came out and everybody was talking about it, I was like, you know what? Either I'm left out of the conversation for the next few weeks or months, or I'm going to actually give this a go. And then, as I tend to do with everything I do in my life, I just got way too obsessed with it. But so were you've always been this hardcore Pokemon fan, right? Since you were a little kid?
Yeah, I've been pretty into it. I mean, I have the badges tattooed on my arm, right. So I'm pretty into it.
I have a Pokemon tattoo that's kind of embarrassing. I can tell you about later. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Okay. But would you consider yourself like a gamer in general? Were you a YouTuber prior to this? Like, I'm trying to figure out
Before this, I was just kind of just whatever came up.
Right.
I still feel like I'm that way.
Right.
This just took off, so I ran with it. But I played games. But I never really considered myself a gamer. Mm-hmm. Like, for a while, I was playing a lot of Call of Duty, right. Like Modern Warfare 2 mm-hmm. era, League of Legends for like the year before Pokemon Go came out. But I'm not like consistently playing games. I'm not buying every new game that comes out.
Right.
But Pokemon is like the one franchise that I've kind of stuck with, mm-hmm. that I've played every iteration of it.
Once you have that fondness for the characters and the whole idea of it, it kind of helps immerse you in like other versions of it, right?
Right. And I think as far as gaming goes, or with everything really in my life, I'm more of a creator than a consumer.
Okay. But you felt like that beforehand, and like what kind of things? Like
with games, even even though I'm not playing a ton of games, I would mess around with like RPG Maker and just make games. I was doing like Pokemon ROM hacks mm-hmm. where you're editing, the actual Game Boy games to make your own custom game.
That's hardcore, yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, yeah, I'm more of I like making games more than playing them, I guess, which is kind of weird.
But so did you foresee yourself being the type of person who would do well on camera prior to this? Did you have any prior experience? Because I think you're very good on camera, but you don't strike me as someone who necessarily would have naturally thought that you were going to be doing that with your life.
No, not at all. I actually have like a considerable amount of social anxiety, mm-hmm. which is probably part of the reason that it took me 6 months to get here on the podcast.
Also, why you probably like don't go to the Santa Monica Pier. It seems like you only go there like late at night. I don't think you don't seem like that into it.
Exactly. It's not that like I don't.
Well, your first interview is a big. It probably seems like a big mountain to climb for a lot of people.
Right. The idea of just you and me talking for however many.
I think I've already got you warmed up about 10 minutes in here. I think you're already starting to feel.
I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling okay.
All right, cool. I got. Wait, is there a name for the Trainer Tips fans? You never went that far?
No.
Oh, that's a missed opportunity.
It might be. I feel like I'm not like a typical YouTuber in that sense.
Well, you're definitely not the typical Pokemon Go YouTuber.
No.
Some of these guys, I'm convinced that they're like consuming MDMA before they get on camera or something. They're so positive just to appeal to these kids.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I feel like just coming into it, my thing was kind of like knowing what the Pokemon gaming content was like on YouTube. Mm-hmm. My mindset was kind of like, I want to change that. I want to show people that you don't have to be super over the top, like pretending you're excited about everything.
Children's music playing in the background. Yeah,
exactly. That you can just be normal or level.
Well, you have I'm very, very interested in your outlook on the game because, the saying is like, "Oh, life is a journey, not a destination." Well, I think your channel epitomizes that pretty well, because there's a lot of guys who are just racing to get it to level 40, or they want to fill the Pokedex so much. And I remember even when I first started watching, I realized like, oh, he's not really that obsessed with the XP or with catching everything. He's more just trying to enjoy the road,
Right.
which is, I think, a really good thing, especially for somebody in your position who's has to make content on a regular basis.
Yeah. Taking it slow, I think, helped the channel because I didn't run out of stuff as quickly. But I guess I'm kind of like that in most games. Like I said, I'm not really a hardcore gamer.
Right.
And then on top of that, there's not really a point to leveling up in Pokemon Go.
That is the strange thing about the people who are so into doing it, is that there's nothing really happens.
It's just like, I guess, a sense of achievement for them.
Right.
The completionists, the achievement hunters, or whoever.
Yeah, there's a space for everybody. But I like your outlook of looking at it, where it's more of a quest for understanding.
Yeah.
You just want to understand every part of it, not necessarily do those things that basically walking around in the park for 10 hours is like kind of a weird end result of that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, understanding for sure. Beyond just Pokemon Go, I like to understand things that I'm involved with. But with Pokemon Go specifically, I think because from the beginning we were kind of looking at it as this opportunity for ourselves to travel.
Right.
Like, we had that mindset to begin with, so we kind of approached the game that way. Treated it like we were living this fantasy that we had as kids.
Right.
There was a lot of discussion before the game launched. Do we actually, like, in every video, just act like Pokemon are real? Like, not even refer to it as a game. Just go that in depth, like that deep into it.
That is a very, very interesting way to think of it. That could have been really cool, and also kind of disturbing, maybe like a furry by the end of it. Like,
Yeah, it could have been really weird. But I think at the time we were also considering that maybe our best bet for getting paid was to get some kind of like a spokesman type deal with Niantic or with the Pokemon Company.
Right. Not realizing that they would have no communication with the players.
Yeah. Once that became evident, that just that was completely out the window.
Did you not really know that YouTube money was pretty decent, or did you just not really think that you would get big enough that it would matter?
No, I had a pretty good idea from working with Dante and like meeting a lot of established YouTubers through him that you can make a really good living on YouTube. I just don't think we really expected our channel to grow so quickly to that point.
Right.
To where, like, for 6 months we had no revenue. We made like $12 on the channel.
6 months before it launched, right?
Right, yeah. And then it got to the point where like, oh, wow, this is serious, like, and right off the bat.
Were you having a really hard time with doing daily content early on because were you used to the schedule or anything?
No, I didn't have a hard time at all at first because I had kind of been doing nothing for so long. I just had all this energy saved up.
Right.
So that once something came that I could really just invest all my time into,
right.
I did it.
When you say nothing, are you talking about like just working your 9 to 5, doing editing type stuff, and then not really having like something you were passionate about for a while?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even a ton of work. Like with my cousin shooting with Dante, that was maybe once a week, twice sometimes.
Right.
And then doing just other freelance stuff, a little bit of editing. My cousin has a photo booth company in LA. I would work photo booth gigs for him once in a while. Catering sometimes, just whatever was around. Like, I didn't have a job that I was committed to. I didn't have a boss that I had to report to every day.
You seem like it's almost like you're talking about like a different version of yourself that doesn't sound that familiar, because you sound like you were sort of just doing whatever. And now when I watch your channel, you seem like incredibly driven, and every single day you have something that very specific to work on, which is what it is like to be a daily vlogger. You just have to, or a daily YouTuber.
Yeah. I think I was just kind of, I tend to go with the flow, right? So I had a job, for like 5 years through the end of college, and then for a few years afterwards, I was living in New Orleans for the job, working for a dance competition as a photographer.
Oh, wow.
And that sort of just like came up. My friend was like, "Hey, we're looking for photographers.
Right.
You like taking pictures, right?" And I said, "Sure." And then the day before I went in for the training, looked up everything about cameras because I really had no idea. I had never taken a photography class.
Right.
So I just kind of started doing it, and I mean, I got really good at taking pictures of dancers on stage.
Did that kind of give you a feeling of like, man, if I could get good at this, I could get good at anything? Because this is so
it actually
far
did,
out there in terms of what I'm actually into. Yeah,
it gave me a sense that like, if I really did something enough, then I'm sure I could be cool at it. You know?
That's the cool thing about YouTube. It's like that repetition is like, I can get good at making a video if I make a video every day for 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So from that job, I ended up quitting. I became full-time with that, moved to New Orleans, and then it got kind of overwhelming with the boss and her expectations, throwing extra stuff on us. It was just like a weird situation. Right. So I quit, moved back home, was kind of depressed for a while. I broke up with my girlfriend who I was living with out there.
Not the current girlfriend.
No. So that for like a while after that, I was kind of just doing whatever came my way. Mm-hmm. As soon as I came back, Dante asked me to help shoot with his channel. Right. And so that was like my main thing. But I wasn't making anywhere near enough money to move out of my dad's house, which is where, I mean, I'm still living there, trying to find a place.
Yeah, you must have really specific standards for where you want to live, huh?
Right.
Yeah. Because you seem like you've been working on it for a while.
It's actually been a couple months. Like every place that I'm actually like, oh, this is cool, I'll email or call or whatever, and everything's going fine, and then something just happens. It gets rented or they just stop responding to me.
Trying to stay in like the Downey area, or are you moving to LA or something?
I'm trying to go to Long Beach.
Oh, okay.
Because I actually, LA is cool, but I actually really don't like LA.
You seem like you like the slow paced type of life to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that is a weird thing about it. I wonder that too. Is like the reason why you're my favorite Pokemon Go vlogger. Is it a local thing? I don't think so. The fact that like I know you're playing like 20 minutes away from my house, but that is, you know, that park over there that used to be the Bulbasaur nest and then turned into a Squirtle nest, and now it's some other shit.
Hollenbeck,
yes,
right?
Yeah, I always forget the name of it.
Yeah.
Like I was like watching you doing that, and I'm like, fuck, I got out of my room and went and had to go catch like 50 Bulbasaurs because I was still on the climb there. Not recently, not the recent event, which we can also talk about, but this was before.
Yeah.
So strange. Is this bothering you in any way? She's so excited because she sees me talk about this with such excitement sometimes. But so you moved back from New Orleans. You are trying to figure out your life or whatever.
It was sort of like just trying to figure out my life. I bought a van with the money that I had saved. Right. Built out the inside of it, put a bed in it, and just went on like this month-long. I guess it was a journey of discovery. Right. I just drove from San Diego all the way up to Vancouver and just like lived out of the van for a month by myself.
And what you were doing, like a lot of deep thinking?
A lot of deep thinking. Yeah. I would just stay at like national parks, camp sometimes, but then Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, Bellingham was another city in Washington that I've wanted to visit for a long time. I would just like park next to a park and try not to look conspicuous and just like, you know, just living out of the van by myself, meeting people on the road.
Is this the equivalent of like going into like an isolation retreat?
I guess so. It was like my version of that.
Right. And did you like make any like big decisions while you were spending this much time alone?
Not necessarily, but I think it was just, it kind of helped me get out of the depression phase, which was really good. And then the van like broke down and cost way more money than I could afford to repair. So I ended up getting rid of that and just kind of like going back to being at home.
And this is a few years before you actually started the channel and stuff?
It was 2015.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So would you say that you were not at the best place mentally? Like you didn't feel like you had a lot of drive necessarily before the game came off and you started? Because what you're describing is like a very low-key, relaxed style of life, and I'm assuming that your life now is very, very different.
Yeah, it's almost completely the opposite. But that was definitely what I was going for. I mean, I still think about that kind of lifestyle where like I just like a tiny house somewhere in the forest, you know? Right. And that sounds really, really nice to me to not have to need things. And obviously I wouldn't be making much money, but I wouldn't need it for anything.
I feel like everybody who looks at their YouTube analytics 5 times a day and fucking is just obsessed with their channel and stuff kind of has that in the back of their head. Like, well, maybe one day I'm going to move into the mountains and I'm going to ski and I'm just, like maybe I'm not going to be doing this every day. Yeah. You always kind of have it in your head like this. I don't know if I could do this every day for the next 6 years,
No,
like
absolutely.
6 months seems like maybe I could do that, but 6 years, I don't know. It's like,
yeah. No, I'm getting to a point where I feel I'm feeling that burnout from the daily schedule.
Right. Well, it's weird for you too because you just have, you've accomplished the vast majority of the things in the game. And then what's strange is that every time there's news, it's like really immediate and urgent that you report on it. Mm-hmm. But then there's like another lull for a week after that. And then like once Gen 2 comes out, it's just going to be insanity again.
Right.
Everybody's going to be going crazy. It's actually pretty amazing that there are still so many Pokemon Go vloggers who are still posting about it daily after all this time. Yeah. With almost nothing to really do.
Right. That's kind of been the struggle is that people expect like analysis from me, tips. It's in the name of the channel. But even like 2 months ago, I felt like I had covered everything about the game because it's not a deep game.
Right.
I've pretty much said everything I can say about it.
Yeah.
And so I started in my mind sort of making this shift to just like vlogging, like just
as
I'm just
part
going to
of
be Casey Neistat,
to fill out the length.
Pokemon.
Right. Yeah. So you like do the news and then fill it out with like 10 more minutes of the vlog.
Exactly.
I thought that was pretty clever when I realized you were doing that.
Yeah.
Because people do want to see that, but then for the title, it's like you got to hook them in with the news type
right.
thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't just go, I caught Bulbasaur today. No one's going to click on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been the struggle is transitioning to that, I guess. Focusing more on the creative aspect. Like I was getting bored with what I was doing, so a week ago or so I just decided I'm going to shoot a whole episode where nothing's handheld. I'll just put the camera on a tripod for every shot in this video, and like that made it interesting for me.
Right.
Just experimenting with stuff like that, and we were watching Better Call Saul. Like we just binged all of Better Call Saul. Right. And whoever their DP is, their director of photography, I'm like super into all the weird angles and shots that they have.
Really?
So I'm just like, I'm just gonna start working some Better Call Saul type shots into the
You're making me want to revisit that and check out the cinematography then because that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that Breaking Bad. It's all
Yeah, it's very well. So, are you a big Casey Neistat fan? Was there anybody who kind of influenced you to?
No, Casey Neistat for sure.
Me too. Huge fan.
Right. Yeah.
Well, R.I.P.
Right.
Well, the channel, not the. I mean, he still posts stuff, and actually, his content's really high quality now. But
it's like back to what he was doing before.
Right.
Daily, but he was like the one guy that I was watching daily while I was working with Dante.
Right.
And I kind of considered that like my YouTube research because I would watch other daily guys. Right. The other big channels like Roman Atwood or.
Right. But with Roman Atwood, it's like you have to. Oh, yeah.
Right. No, I know.
He we shall not speak of. No, but I feel like with Roman Atwood or Fusi, it's like you have to buy into them as a person if you're going to be into it. Casey really like broke down a lot of doors because it's like even if you don't really care for this guy that much, it's like so well put together. Right. That it's just mind blowing and I mean I feel like you've kind of crossed like a boundary over like maybe the past couple of months like you're saying where I've seen some of the ones that you've done that have been like incredibly well shot, which is pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
So all right, let's say the game comes out. Yeah. You fucking open it for the first time. You start walking around the block. Were you immediately like taken aback like this is better than I thought it was going to be, or were you like this is weird? I just walked around the whole block and I seen one Zubat.
Okay, so. I think my expectations were probably a little high coming into it. Like I think a lot of people's were. Because
you're talking about the traveling as if that would have allowed you to capture a lot of different ones, which is not so much the case.
Right. I'm expecting like, I'm going to have to go to like Iceland to catch a Jinx or whatever, or Greenland, whichever one's icy.
Cold one.
Yeah. So like that's really what I'm expecting. Like, I'll probably get, some Pidgeys and Rattatas in LA, but I'm going to have to go to like Joshua Tree to start catching Geodudes, or I'm going to have to go, I'm expecting to have to go way farther. Right. And then on top of that, the battles were not anything like the main games.
Any fighting game you've ever played before.
Right. It's very mobile.
I thought that when I first went to a gym, I'm like, I wish that this was more like Street Fighter. Yeah. Which is, I don't know, I've never played Street Fighter on my phone, but it just, because I was showing her how to do it. She had never done it before, level 23, as you said. But she's like, you just tap it? I'm like, mostly.
Yeah.
So you were kind of taken back, but did you like it right away? Were you like excited about it?
Yeah, I was excited because I got into the beta, like the second wave of the beta in the US. So I was playing it a couple weeks before it actually came out.
Yeah.
And then, we were under NDA, so I couldn't really talk about it.
Really? Oh.
And it was really tempting being the only person on YouTube who was talking about the game at that point, who actually got into the beta. It was really tempting to just be like, yo, guys, this is everything.
Right.
But I felt like that was kind of short-sighted for the channel.
Right.
They were banning people, and I figured they'd probably come after me if I started talking about it.
Were there not that many people making videos at the time of launch? It was like you and a couple other people, and then it just started to pile on?
Yeah, before launch, there were like 4 channels, and we were all like posting our stuff on the Sylph Road. So we were all kind of talking ahead of time. And at the time, I think Trainer Tips was probably the smallest, maybe second smallest out of them. One of the guys was Chicken, who did like an episode on the channel in Ohio.
Oh, okay. I watched the Alaska one and the Jamaica one.
Yeah.
Okay. There was an Ohio one too. All right.
Yeah, it was the first one I did.
Oh, okay.
It was just like my first idea because, he wanted to collaborate. And I was like, what can I do? You want to show me around your neighborhood?
Yeah.
Cool.
I do think those are
worked
cool.
Out, yeah.
Except the Alaska one was kind of depressing. I'm like, man, this guy is driving really fucking far and not doing that much.
Yeah. I know, man. It's I guess I have to experience that. That's one thing left in my Pokemon Go experience is what it's like to play in a really rural area, I guess.
Yeah. Weird.
So, there weren't very many channels talking about it. And, Trainer Tips was the smallest. But then once the game actually launched, we started growing way faster than any of the other ones, outgrew them pretty quickly. And then I think everyone, like all the big channels, caught on at that point.
The existing gamers just kind of jumped on, yeah.
The ones with like 2 million subs.
From Minecraft or something, yeah.
Yeah, because everyone was playing, so they just jumped onto it, and they did really well with it too,
Did it feel weird to be part of something that was such like a pop culture phenomenon at the time, and like contrast and compare that to now where it's kind of gone a full 180, where now when people see you play Pokemon, people still do that.
Yeah.
I get that a lot lately. But at first it was like, oh, you don't know about catching Pidgeys? What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, no, it was definitely weird to see like how huge it became and how quickly, everyone was covering it. We did a couple of like news interviews, one with Channel 7 down here, and then we went up to Sacramento for like their morning show to talk about it. And that was really weird because it was when the servers were down a lot. So the whole time we were there, like in their studio live, we couldn't play the game at all. So we were just kind of talking about like, it's cool. If you get to play, it's cool.
Yeah. That's funny.
But that part of it was really weird for me because I'm not really interested in being on TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that doesn't really mean much to me.
Did you see it as like, well, this could help the channel, so I might kind of, I guess.
But at that point we were growing so fast, I was like, is Good Morning Sacramento's reach really much bigger than ours at this point?
Yeah, that's what's funny is that like getting on TV really doesn't seem like a big deal, whereas like getting on Drama Alert would be like a huge big deal in comparison, which is a strange thing that like being on the news, like your mom might see it, but probably not going to get any more subs. So was this a strange and or depressing thing for you as the game cooled off a little bit and the subs stopped rolling in quite like they did? Did this make you feel like, wow, we're not growing like we were? Maybe should I even keep doing this?
Yeah, there was a point where like once the growth started growing or slowing, like if you look at the like daily new subscribers graph, whatever, the curve of that graph perfectly mimics the like Pokemon Go daily downloads. Right. It looks exactly the same, like huge spike at the beginning and then just starts trailing off. And once that started happening, I was kind of like, it's still growing. It's growing slowly. Right. But there was definitely a few times where I was thinking, what do I do next? I didn't ever expect it to fully die like people say that it's going to or claim that it already has. But yeah, I definitely started to prepare for what I would be doing after this channel, I guess.
But do you see yourself as like the most, like say tomorrow, like the new location-based game comes out, the next big one that is like almost as viral as Pokemon Go was at first, and say that it somehow encompasses every like need that you have with the game that like you just love it, you want to play it so bad. Do you think that you would be able to see yourself just sort of being like, all right, I'm going to switch over to this game because you already have that subscriber base? Probably a lot of your fans would want to watch it too, because we all know that these games are coming, right? The Pokemon Go-ified versions of other games.
Yeah, Niantic's licensing out their whole like structure to all kinds of developers right now.
See, that's so fascinating to think how that shit's going to change.
Yeah, it's AR is going to be big over the next few years. But I don't see myself really making the jump to other games. Like a lot of people ask that you should play Pokemon Sun and Moon, do like a let's play that, or play other games on your channel.
Right.
But I don't see myself becoming a gaming YouTuber because, like I said, I don't really play games that much.
Right.
I think more likely I would just continue with like the vlogging stuff and travel more.
Right.
Because that's kind of what I wanted to do since the beginning, is really just travel more and play the game.
Right.
And I think that's probably one of the only things left to do with the channel at this point. Because, the updates are every 2 weeks at best. You talk about that for 2 days and then it's back to the same. It's like the same grind, the same content.
Hypothetically, say every country has a different Pokemon. Would you like somehow like be able to find that within yourself to be like, all right, we're doing this world tour, we're going to all like 200 countries or whatever it is? Do you like say it made sense financially as well? Would that be actually like closer to your idea of how this was supposed to work?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would go in 100% on that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were expecting from the beginning, is a lot more travel required.
But so Japan was the one trip that you went on, and it seemed like you were pretty stressed out the entire time.
I was so stressed out. I mean, I like kind of crowdfunded the trip. I said I was going to go anyway, but opened up donations because so many people had been asking, am I ever going to do that? I want to donate to the channel. I want to help you, whatever. So I finally like gave people an opportunity to do that. And there was a huge backlash, which was really
was it like a structured backlash, or was it just like a few people hating in the comments?
And I guess it was probably just a few people, but they were really vocal about it.
But you raised like way more, like didn't you make like 10 times more than you thought you were going to make?
Yeah, so I said $1,200 will cover the cost of the trip, like flight, hotel,
Very
whatever.
Conservative on your part, by the way.
Yeah.
Because that's probably just the flight, right?
It was like flight and the train pass or whatever. It pretty much covered like, the stuff that I have to do while I'm there.
Right.
Food and everything. I was like, I buy food here anyway. I can pay for that myself. So I asked for $1,200. I ended up raising close to $19,000.
Crazy.
Which was like way more than I expected. So I shut the thing down. I probably should have done it sooner, but it was only like 2 days. It was up for 2 days, and it got to that point. And at the beginning, I had said, whatever extra comes in, I'll donate to like whatever relief funds for the region, because of the point of the event was to bring people in for tourism in areas that were hit by the tsunami that were still kind of recovering economically. So I was like, I'll spend all the extra money there, put it into the economy, and then it's like, how do I spend $17,000 in 3 days?
Yeah,
it's impossible.
Yeah,
like I've never even imagined having to do that in my life.
Right.
So I think I probably spent like a few $100s, and the rest of it I donated to charities and like organizations that were working there. But I was actually really stressed because people essentially paid for me to go on that trip.
Right.
So I felt this like greater sense of obligation to do what I said I was going to do there.
Right.
To cover the event, to like talk about the tsunami, and I felt really rushed to do that.
Because how long were you there? 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, it was only like 3 or 4 days, and I missed my flight, so I lost a day. But that day was in Tokyo, so it wasn't really related to the event. That was just like warm-up time, I guess.
Jet lag, not to mention just being there, wanting to run around, not to mention having to basically live the lives of 2 people because you also have to edit. Yeah.
Right, yeah. It was crazy. I think I slept like 4 hours in the first 2 days there.
Right.
So, yeah, I was really stressed out, and a lot of people had sent me emails or like tweeted at me, whatever, saying, I can help you. You should go here. You should do this. And it was a lot. Like, I can't do all that. I couldn't even respond to all the people just because of how pressed for time I was. I was like, okay.
Right.
I took all the suggestions in. I said, thank you in a video. Like, thank you guys for sending me all this stuff. I'm going to try to do as much of it as I can.
Uh-huh.
I don't have time to like respond to everyone individually right now. And, you know, I got there and things kind of just didn't really go as planned, I guess. I feel like when I'm with a group, like I ended up meeting with a couple other YouTubers there.
Shout out to Reversal. I became a fan of his through that because I'd never seen you really play with any other dudes who were like big on YouTube so much. So I kind of got like a weird fascination with him for a while.
Yeah, Reversal and Ben Tim 1. They're actually
and him
really,
too. Also,
really cool dudes.
They're both deranged. They both play so fucking much. Like, well, actually, Ben's not even close to level 40, but Reversal, he did so many fucking videos to hit it, and I just kept having to watch him. I'm like, I want to see what this is gonna be like when he finally hits it.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then he like tweets afterwards, level 1 through 30 can be done in 4 days, and I'm gonna prove it. And I was like, dude, it took me 6 months to do that.
Yeah, I've been walking around for 8 hours today. I got 500,000 XP. I'm like, what the? That's a quarter of what I have. Period. What are you doing out there?
Yeah,
I don't. He's got to have the game genie shoved in the bottom of his phone or something. I don't know. But yeah, so was that kind of weird because you are sort of like a self-starter? You're like a solo act normally, and all of a sudden you're around a bunch of other personalities?
Yeah. Meeting up with people and kind of like going with the group, I feel, I don't want to say like it made the content worse, but it kind of like took me away from what my goal was, what my focus was. Like, one of the guys that we met up with there, Japanese YouTuber, Josh, he had like his tracker that worked in Japan. So he's like, oh, Lapra's here. And we were kind of just following him around.
Right.
And so then the second day I was like, okay, that was cool. The event was good. I covered that. I caught like a dozen Lapras in one day.
Right.
So that part was done. And tomorrow I'm just going to focus on seeing like the stuff,
right.
You know, the things that I came here to do. And travel takes a lot longer than you really expect it to.
Right.
Everything is a lot farther than it looks on the map when you look and you're like, oh yeah, I can go here, I can go here, I can go here. And then on top of that, like not knowing the language, I probably could have found someone to like guide me around, which is, I think, something that I should definitely do next time I go somewhere.
That was your first time in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a baffling experience, huh?
Yeah.
So clean, no trash cans.
Right.
That's all I got to say.
Like, I guess.
I think actually I heard you say that in the video, but that was that was Tokyo, so I don't know, it might have been a little different, but mind-blowing how different it is culturally.
Yeah, I guess someone like put a bomb in a trash can one time and they just decided, no more trash cans. Everyone bring your trash home. And,
that was it.
And everyone was okay with it. Like that. It just happened like that.
Wow.
Like it's not like that. It's been that way for a long time. It's just like one guy ruined it for everyone.
Yeah.
And now we put our trash in our backpacks.
You know what they told me out there is they said that too many women were getting groped on the subway, so they just made it a rule that men couldn't take the subway during rush hour. And I was trying to like think about, I don't know if that's actually true, but someone told me that. And I was trying to think about that in terms of America. I'm like, if there was a problem with too many women being groped on the subway, they would put a cop on every subway car before they fucking banned men in general. It's so many strange things that go on. And
I know, it's crazy. Yeah. It's like the same thing with the drone. So like a protester used a drone to fly radioactive soil onto the prime minister's house.
Really?
And after that, they like said,
no more drones.
No more drones. So that's why I didn't bring the drone there.
That's fascinating. I didn't know
that.
But
that was, kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
So, I guess I was just kind of like wandering a lot, which is actually how I like to do things.
That's why it's a good game for somebody who likes a nice long wander.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I like about it too.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like go for a nice long walk. It's good. Yeah.
Right. So that second day, I looked at the map and I was like, I looked up places that had been hit by the tsunami. I saw which ones were on the train line between our hotel and like the main area where the event was.
Right.
And I just decided I'm going to stop at a couple of them, check them out. I'm walking around. There's like not really a ton of people there. The event's not crazy there like it was in Ishinomaki. So I kind of just like walked around. I spent like an hour just shooting at the cemetery just because it was, it was beautiful. And that's like sort of how I prefer to do things. But then I see people complaining like, oh, you didn't, like you could have asked me, I could have told you everything that happened there.
Right, yeah.
Which like, absolutely you could have. And then coming back to Ishinomaki, that second day, there was one thing that I really wanted to see, which was this island in like the mouth of the river there where all the buildings got destroyed by the tsunami except for one, the manga museum there. And there's still Pokestops for all the buildings that were there. So I was like, dude, this is like a perfect example of how it's like a graveyard for things that existed, and Pokemon Go is kind of like keeping them alive in people's consciousness, you know?
That's crazy.
So like I felt like that was the perfect thing to sort of sum up the whole event.
Right.
And so I get off the train. The last train back leaves in like an hour or something. I get off the train and there's a ton of people waiting for me.
Oh, wow.
And
really?
like Reversal's sitting there, Ben's sitting there, and then just like a bunch of people who are waiting to see me. I was like, okay, cool. What's up? Hey, hi everyone. And you know, like I said, I'm not really the most social person. And so in my mind, I'm like, yo, I need to get to this place. And Josh is there. I told him, he's like, dude, you don't have time to go there. Like, you need to get on this train in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't wait for the last one because then you might miss the bullet train back to Tokyo.
Right.
And I was like, dude, okay. So it was just kind of like, I don't know. It was hard to like get everything done that I wanted to. You know?
Think about pushing your flight back and just being like, fuck it, I'll leave 3 days from now.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
But it was also like my birthday, Thanksgiving was coming up. I kind of had to get home for like the family stuff. Like the whole trip was so last minute that if I did it again, I would have planned ahead of time and had at least a week, 2 weeks, hopefully.
It's a really weird thing that you go through too once you sort of become well known and you start traveling though, because when nobody knows who the fuck you are, you travel and it's like you just get to figure stuff out on your own.
Right.
But as like I'm speaking as like a BMX dude, like as more people know you are, it just becomes sort of like it's a tour guide the whole way through everything. They know where to go to eat, to drink, to do whatever.
Yeah.
And it just kind of takes care of itself, which is really nice. It's actually hard for me to imagine going back to a more freestyle approach, but it's a little bit less magical. You know?
Yeah. No, I think that's something that I need to get used to, because it definitely is nice, like having someone there who can translate or knows like where the good spots are. Right. But then for me, I do like to wander, you know? It was interesting.
So there's a saying: every trainer needs a lady. Can we just talk about the relationship goals aspect of your channel? Because I've heard a lot of different people comment on how much they love the dynamic between you and Cassie.
Yeah.
Is she actually very like tolerant of you making her walk around in a park?
She is incredibly tolerant, and I love her for it. But I think like having that relationship aspect on the channel has really helped a lot of people connect. Right. Because we get a ton of comments or like emails or letters, Christmas cards, even from people who are like, you know, I play with my girlfriend, I play with my husband, I play with my whatever. Or like my girlfriend hated the game and she hated that I played, and then she started watching your videos with me and now she's out here with me playing. Right. So I think a lot of people really connect with that, which is good. And then on top of that, it helps that like she actually cares and like wants to play the game.
When she hatches a Snorlax, you definitely know that she cares. There's no faking that emotion. I just think it's hilarious that I know about that. But like she's really good with it too. I would be really mean if I didn't say that. We walked around for 4 hours last night, so you know, not nice. 4, 2. Sorry. Okay. 4 eggs. 4 lucky eggs. Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's really cool. And I've noticed that in general, you seem like you've gotten a lot more open to showing like sides of your personal life over the past couple of months.
Yeah, it was, I kind of tried to keep a lot of it separated, and I still do. Mm-hmm. Like we get a lot of questions about the relationship. Right. The most common question, like, how did you guys meet? How long have you been together? And it's just stuff that I don't really feel like I need to answer on the channel, because I do want to keep fans. Right. I do want to keep some level of privacy, I guess. Right. But I've definitely gotten more open. I think letting people in that way kind of helps them connect, for sure, and also makes it easier to shoot when like I'm with my family all day. Right. So I kind of have to shoot while I'm with them, otherwise I have no content for today.
Does your family sort of comprehend what it is you do, and does it make sense to them?
I think they understand it. My mom watches every video.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So she knows what's going on in my life because she watches the videos. Right. Because I'm not the most talkative. Yeah. Yeah. So I think they get it. Right. Yeah.
Did you ever skateboard?
Yeah.
Like a lot and well, or?
I wouldn't say like well.
Okay.
Like I had a solid book of tricks.
Your standard like SoCal skate plaza rat.
Right.
You go to Houghton?
No.
Okay.
No. I skated like through high school mainly, and then once I went to college, I kind of slowed down.
Okay. I've just heard you like acknowledge rails or skate parks before, and I've just been like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about a little bit. That's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely used to skate. We used to skate a lot, and that's I think actually where my video editing, shooting and editing
you filmed
started.
and edited then too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that was like with my dad's DV camera and like Windows Movie Maker.
Right.
So that was like the actual beginning of my editing.
You should do a standard definition vlog. with the screen like being played on the side, but like all pixelated.
Oh man, yeah. I kind of thought about it, like, I should just start vlogging with like a camcorder.
Yeah, VX vlog.
Yeah,
run through a lot of tapes. It's kind of unfortunate, but it's a possibility. Shit. So I don't know. Like this is a very strange time in the game because with this Gen 2, it's like, don't you feel like that's kind of going to make or break it? Because that's sort of like, if Gen 2 is a big, huge smash, then that proves that, like, okay, the sequel to the movie can be similarly as big as the original.
Right.
But if it doesn't, then maybe the whole franchise is over with.
Yeah,
Not the whole franchise, but maybe that game or something like that. Do you have, like, very high hopes for it?
Yeah. I think, like, early, mid-December when we thought it was coming, and then they just dropped, like, babies only.
Which was very hard for me to deal with.
Yeah, super disappointing, especially considering, like, how confident I was. Mm-hmm. It was like, I felt like releasing Gen 2 all at once is like the one thing that really gives the game a chance of getting back to where it was when it started. Like, it's never going to be that big because everyone who was curious has already picked it up and then put it down. But everyone who like enjoyed it a little bit will come back for that. Like 100 new Pokemon. That's like the most exciting thing about the game because the battles are not really keeping anyone playing.
But I heard you say that you got the 10 gym bonus.
I did one time.
That is insane.
One time.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I actually had a real thrill today because I beat this gym right next to my house when I was showing her it. And then this morning a kid tweeted at me like, oh, nice to see Adam in my neck of the woods. Little does he know that it's like a block from my house. But I was like, that is so cool that he actually just took a picture of my fucking Dragonite.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, the gym game, I don't know. It's all right. Yeah. We did it with like one time. It just started out like, oh, let's just take a gym. I just need to battle something. I don't know.
Well, if there's a bunch of level 10 Valor gyms, then it's not that hard to go insert yourself into what they have going on, right? So
yeah, unfortunately for Team Instinct, there's never really anything going on.
Right. Well, actually, I was in Long Beach today, and I saw 4 level 10.
Yeah,
all next to each other, all with Dragonites at the top of it.
Parts of Long Beach, like Cherry Park, Bixby Park, that area, there's actually a lot of Team Instinct, which is cool. But right? Like Downey, totally red.
Really?
Like we just got lucky one night, and we're like, oh, here's a gym. I'll just put something in it. And then we see a gym on the horizon. Oh, another Instinct gym. And it just kind of continued that way for 10 gyms.
So it wasn't a big plan.
No, it wasn't planned at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with those 150 coins?
I think I already spent them during the
Oh, wait,
the
is it 100? If you had 10 gyms, it would be 100, right?
100.
Damn, that's too bad.
Yep.
Your prize for completing the most insane thing you could ever do in the game is like 2/3 of an incubator.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But so the events in general, though, is a very interesting thing to me because, I mean, you know, I'd slowed down a bunch. I was on family vacation, and then they announced the Gen 2 baby Pokemon, so I'm walking along the beach. I fucking finally hatch one Elekid. I'm like, all right, well, it's possible. And that was all right. But then with the recent thing with the Charmanders and the Bulbasaurs and everything, that was fun. Yeah. But now it's like without something new in the game, what the fuck are people going to do for the next week or two before they change shit up?
Yeah. The events are cool because they bring people in. They get people playing. But you know, once they end, it's kind of like...
It's like when you do a discount in your like online store. You do 10% off, 20% off, but then all of a sudden nobody's going to buy anything at full price.
Right.
And that's kind of where they might be digging themselves a little hole.
Yeah, so I think they kind of need to get on a schedule. Like, they were on a good schedule, update every 2 weeks. And I don't know why that stopped. I guess maybe like a Christmas break or something. But if they did like an event and then an update, an event and then an update, like that would keep people playing more consistently, I think. But yeah, I don't know. Events they're good. Yeah. Some of them were good. Some are like kind of iffy.
Which one did you not like?
I feel like Starters was cool. What was before Starters?
The
one that I was like sick for the entire thing.
What do you think of the Halloween one though?
Halloween was cool.
I didn't do that one, but
the spawns were cool. The spawns were okay. But my
Right.
thing with like making certain Pokemon super common is that now everyone has those,
Right.
And that's like the one thing that's really keeping people interested. So if you get them all the Pokemon faster, then they probably get tired of the game faster.
Yeah.
Like taking away that challenge, I feel is probably not something that should be done very often.
Right.
But the candy, like the increased candy part of the Halloween event, was great.
Yeah.
That was really good, especially like walking with your buddy and getting 4 times as much. That and then like the double experience and double Stardust.
Yeah.
Stardust specifically, since I don't really care about the XP.
Right.
But yeah, some of the events are good. The increased odds of hatching Gen 2, again, is like, it's just making stuff easier to get.
Yeah, but now it's weird too, because now it's like, if you just wanted that one last Gen 2, which is the situation I'm in, it's like, now that it's even less likely to spawn, and it didn't feel that likely to spawn in the first place, it's kind of like, well, am I seriously going to go walk a fucking egg just to do that? No, that's a strange.
Yeah, there needs to be more that's actually keeping people engaged, and I think improving the actual game part of the game is a big way to do that. Yeah. Because right now it's not really a game. It's like a big world. Exactly. It's like an open world experience. It's a big scavenger hunt.
But do you think so this is I'm sure it's not the first attempt at like building like a location based game, because there's probably been other ones that were much less popular. But do you see it as the kind of thing where like somebody else is just going to hit it on the head and like really nail it in the next couple years?
I think so. I think with like the amount of developers who are actually working on it now, especially since Niantic has licensed out their whatever it is that they created, and people just seeing the success of this and thinking like, I can do that better. Like I even had that thought.
Right.
I could do this better.
Right.
I think someone's going to get it really, really right sometime in the next couple of years.
Right. It has to happen at some point, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. But so are there any like particular experiences that really have stuck with you as the most exhilarating moments that you've had as a trainer since the game came out?
I think going to Japan was definitely one of them.
Right.
As stressful as the trip was for me because of the obligations and the expectations, actually traveling to a foreign country to play the game, to catch Farfetch'd, like do something that I hadn't experienced before in the game. That was really fun because, again, that was like my main thing coming into it, is like, this is a game that's going to get me around the world. So that was huge. I think the first time playing was like a mind-blowing experience. I remember it was in the beta, and I went over to my mom's house and got my little brother, and I was like, dude, I got into the beta, let's go.
Right.
We just like walked around near my mom's house, and at that point my brother was like, he plays a lot of games like on his iPad, watches a lot of YouTube. So
Chance,
he doesn't.
right? This is still Chance, right? Okay,
yeah. So he doesn't like get out much. Like he plays baseball, he plays Little League, but
Right.
like doesn't really go out too much and do outside stuff. So like that first day when I got the game, we ended up walking like 3 miles together.
Right.
And like he was super into it the whole time. So that was really exciting for me to see something that could actually like get him excited.
Right.
And for both of us being 17 years apart to be like super into it and share that time together, that was really cool.
I've definitely loved those moments of seeing you guys play together and like you guys are having conversations about it, and it's like you basically are on like the same level when you're talking about that, and it's just kind of trippy. Like he seems like way like developed, like really, really smart for his age.
Yeah. He talks a lot.
Yeah. And just seemed like he like understood the game in like such an in-depth way. I was like, wow, that's really impressive. Yeah. Even though he seems like he might have got more bored with it than you are.
I think he has. Yeah. He doesn't want to come out as much.
Does it ever feel like a job though? Like, do you ever like wake up and you're like, God, like this is just not really what I want to do today?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that was like one of my big things coming into it at the beginning was like, yeah, finally I have something that I'm super excited to do every day. I don't have a boss. I don't have to like answer to anyone. I can just make whatever I want today. And now as like the tips have run out, as the game gets more repetitive, it's like, oh, I have to make something today.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people expecting it.
Right.
So yeah, it's gotten to feel more like a job. There are still obviously way worse things that I could be doing. I'm not saying that it's bad or that I don't enjoy it, but it definitely, there's like a sense of expectation now that sort of makes it more like a job for me.
I feel like you never talk about the medals, which is kind of like an obvious thing for somebody who's really done everything to just sort of dive into and just go get a lot of rats. It's just is like the most boring thing that I've ever done was like I got a flight layover in Boston, which is a magnemite nest, and just 3 hours walking around and I got that fucking medal and it was just the least.
Yeah, I watched that one.
Oh, really?
I did.
It did nothing for me. It was just like I did it and I was just like, what the fuck did I just do that for?
I know. The medals, it's like another achievement hunter type thing where like I'm not really into it. Like there's no, it doesn't do anything for you. The type ones increase your catch rate a little bit, but it's not a huge increase.
It's not like you ever know that it's doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know. I probably won't ever do like a trying to finish my Pikachu medal video. I'll just like, as it happens, I'll
do you know how many Pikachu. You have?
I don't.
I think I have 83. Nice. So that's
I think I'm on silver.
That's not something I'm really trying to.
Yeah. I don't even know what the final number is for
300.
that. Like, is it really?
Same thing with the rats.
Yeah, no. I'm not actively trying for that.
Yeah.
That's like, it's like every time I level up, I'm like, oh, I guess I leveled up. Like, it's a surprise to me.
I always don't have enough space in my bag, so it doesn't give me everything.
Really?
Yeah.
I've gone like 50 items over.
It'll go over, but I don't think it goes over the whole way. Like, it'll only go over a certain amount.
Okay.
I think.
There might be, I think if you're totally full, then it probably doesn't give you everything. But if you have, like, a little bit of open space, it might just throw all the extra in there too.
Do you think that when you make a Pokemon your buddy, that it also increases the odds that one of the eggs that you have is going to hatch that buddy?
That was one of the things that was like...
Because you like had a weird experience with it recently, and I had the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The buddy, which freaked me out.
I've had the experience where I just finished walking Porygon up to 50 candies to be ready for Porygon 2.
I don't have a single one. I'm so hurt. Yeah.
The government
That's the only one that you don't have.
Lickitung.
Lickitung is the one you want to have, right? I got one of those. But wait, government buildings is where the Porygons are?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have said. And I found mine like at the convention center in Long Beach, which is like, I mean, it's a big building. But they're more so, I guess.
I'm down.
Like
you
buildings.
Yeah. I'm down to pursue this.
Yeah, I guess they spawn out there quite a bit around the convention center. But yeah, I just finished, like I just got 50 candies, switched out my Porygon, and the next egg I hatched with Porygon, so I'm up to 66.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Like,
what's the timing?
How did this happen? Yeah.
So I don't know if there's really anything to it. It definitely seems that way, but people have kind of stopped talking about it.
Right.
It just, I think when it was new, everyone was like looking for hidden features, like what else does this do? Because they wanted it to be more than just candy. But I think in the end, it's just, you just walk them and you get the candy.
Do you think that that they've done a really good thing by sort of just increasing the spawns in general? Because like I've fought to get a fucking to get a coughing, never mind to get enough candies to get the wheezing. I got 2 coughings riding my bike to my friend's house yesterday, and yes, I was looking at my phone while I was riding my bike, but it just occurred to me. I'm like, I could have never imagined that in the first couple months of the game.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to my thing about it being, wanting it to be harder to complete the Pokedex. Increased spawns is good because it makes it... okay, let me start here. At the beginning, spawns were kind of slow, and that was fine because everyone was super excited about it. And then as it got to a point where you're like, oh, I only need 20 more, I need 10 more, I need 5 more, they get harder and harder to find, and people just start giving up because of that. So, and then on top of that, like rural players saying, oh, we don't have any spawn points, it sucks for us, which it totally does. I think Niantic just like started increasing spawns, and that makes it seem like something's happening. Yeah. Because now you're finding those few Pokemon left that you needed. And, but in the end, it all goes back to the same thing where once you've caught everything, what are you going to do now? Yeah. Like, do you really want to get to level 40? Do you really want to battle 10 gyms, try to take 10 gyms every day?
100 coins.
Yeah, you're going to get those 100 coins, and then you can buy lucky eggs to level up more. Yeah. And once you level up more, you power up your Pokemon 2 more levels.
You ever think you've like thought about this on a level that like nobody was ever intended to think about it? Because that's what I feel like we're both doing is like what we're discussing right now is basically alluding to like why life itself is pointless, which is kind of the thing that every video game eventually teaches you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
just a question of how long it takes you to get there. Well, really, every activity in life in general this is taking a real nihilistic turn. But anything you can do in life is essentially just leading you towards the point where you realize that thing is meaningless.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
Even friends and family, they'll all be dead one day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that was a huge part of my living in the van and like wanting to just move to the forest. And you're like, what's the point? Really, I can make a ton of money, but in the end, what am I going to do with it?
Right. Well, I think making a ton of money is a very important thing along the way towards realizing that money doesn't matter and is never going to make you happy.
Yeah.
Which is something that there's a lot of people in LA who have figured that out through a lot of drug abuse and women and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And we're all somewhere along that trajectory of figuring out that none of the stuff that we're working for towards will make us happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as I get older, I realize everyone's just acting like they know what they're doing.
Right.
Like no one really knows. Like as a kid, you think, oh, these adults have it all figured out.
Right.
And then you get to be like 24, 25, and you're like, we're still just pretending.
Right. But it's kind of good to be in the place that you're in where all these kids think that you know what you're doing. And you know that not only do I not know what I'm doing, but there's nothing to even do.
Right.
But at least they think you've got it figured out.
I think I have some kind of advantage there in knowing that. I feel like I have an advantage on YouTube in like the fact that I won't really pander to my audience.
Right, yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. Like every once in a while, I'll take a time out to address something that really bothers me. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to start like just doing whatever people want me to do for the sake of views.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah.
Do you agree with me that Ali A might have like a bunch of dead bodies in his basement? There's something about him that just makes me feel like he's a serial killer. And I would just like to throw this out to the fans, anybody who might want to comment on this.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Okay, I don't want to go that far either, but there's something about his videos sometimes where he is just so full of glee, and I'm just like, what are you hiding, man?
Yeah, that level of like excitement on YouTube, I think is it's like one of my big issues with it, and one of the things that I kind of like just wanted to change a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that it like sets this unrealistic expectation for people that like if you don't react that way at that level, then you're not excited about something.
Right.
Which
that's the only way to interact with the world is just to be like freaking out all the time.
Exactly. Like there's a whole generation of kids who think like, oh, I have to be there all the time or no one's going to like me.
Right.
And I think it could be kind of dangerous.
I think that's the cool thing about the evolution of YouTube is that you do get to see like a much wider like variety of personalities that are sort of getting to have a voice. Whereas at a certain point it was only like comedians, and now like maybe we are dealing with the awfulness of what it's like to have 10 billion people all daily vlogging, but that at least is giving us a lot of different personalities that you could potentially absorb.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think the coolest thing about YouTube is that literally anyone can do it. Right. So you get to see perspectives from people that you'd probably never come across, never meet in your daily life. Like the guy who did the Jamaica episode, I just thought it was really interesting to watch his videos of what it's like to play in Jamaica, even though he's shooting them on like a crappy point and shoot camera. Like it's not high quality video, but it's a very real experience that you're sharing with him.
And that in particular was really interesting to me just because it's like I haven't been to Jamaica. If I went, my time there would probably have almost nothing in common with like the day-to-day life of a local who just is sort of hanging around, walking around, seeing his friends, just playing this game on his phone. It's like that's a side of a person's life that you would never, ever get to see that up close and personal. So it's that is what I find so interesting about vlogs. Even like He Who Shall Not Be Named, FuziTube, it's like there's something about watching this deranged person live life on YouTube that kind of just makes you like, well, I guess that there are people who are out there who are like that. And it kind of opens your mind up to everything else that is going on in the world,
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the next evolution of reality TV.
Totally, yeah.
It's like a version of reality TV that's a little bit more real because people are telling their own stories rather than the network or the producer who's trying to just, get more views, I guess. Maybe people are doing that on YouTube too.
Well, there's SEO going on, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a little bit more real,
in a somewhat different way. Well, they're doing it to themselves, which is nice.
Yeah.
Or they're like baiting, or they're like Joey Salads, like baiting you into believing horrible stereotypes about all these other groups of people or something.
Right.
Yeah, there's some weird ways that it's gone. Have you been bothered at times by the absurdity of like the hyperbolic clickbait YouTube titles within the Pokemon scene? That's something that is definitely seems like it kind of jarred you before.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when it was at its peak, when people were claiming Gen 2 or like legendaries were being caught
right,
like a couple weeks into the game, that kind of stuff really bothered me because it was getting so many views. And then they have those like sneaky tactics where they pretend to give away an account. So like all these naive kids who are watching like the video and, comment, I want the account. And
right.
it hides all the negative stuff. That stuff really bothered me because it was like, I felt like I'm working hard to do what I do.
Right.
And then there's people who just like, I'm just going to lie to a bunch of people and make just as much and more money than me because they were getting more views at that point.
By just showing a screenshot or like, look, level 40. And it's like a screenshot of some guy who hacked it on Reddit.
Yeah, it's like, it's a screenshot and they're just like talking in the background.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to it. But I guess that's fine if they're okay with that. If they're okay with making their money that way by misleading people, that's cool. It's not what I want to do.
Right.
And I've like joked about it. I've had some titles where it's like clickbaity, and I feel like every time I do something that's like just like the tiniest bit possibly could be misconstrued as clickbait a little bit, people blow up because I've been so against it.
Right.
That like they're just waiting for me to slip. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of annoying, actually, that I can't even like joke around anymore.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I think it's important for us to have an ethical Pokemon Go vlogger,
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's got to be somebody out there to stand up for the little people. Anyway, this has been a fucking dope interview. I've basically been studying for this interview for 6 months, so I mean, I figured it probably had to go all right. But is there anything else you think that we should talk about here? Anything you got coming up that you're excited for, or besides Gen 2, which you probably just wake up every day thinking about that?
I do. I just like start my day on Reddit looking for anything new.
But it's crazy too, because if Gen 2 comes out and you were to just sort of zip through it, then it's like, well, you just screwed yourself for the next 6 months.
And then it's done again.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out there and screw myself. Because it's like, I don't have to make a video. So it's like, if I do the whole thing, which it'll probably be a lot more complicated than that, then I just don't ever think about it anymore. Yeah. But I will, and I'll be thinking about the fucking metals or something. I'll find something to drown myself in, yeah. Yeah,
man. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Besides that, for the channel, I guess just more travel is like my goal for the year.
Right.
Just go to new places, because that really keeps it interesting for me. And that's why I feel like I've been so not as motivated lately, is because I've been to all the spots around here. Like, we're going to Big Bear this week, which is going to be cool. We went there for like a couple days.
You do use it to travel quite a bit, but it's just usually you're traveling around California for the most part, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely want to do more international or like a road trip around the country. I don't want to spend too much time in the snow, so it might come a little later.
Right.
Like, I'm going to go up to Big Bear. There's snow up there right now. But I don't want to spend like a month in the snow.
You definitely don't want to. Never leave California during the winter months. That's my general. Yeah. Because there's BMX contests in like Estonia, and they want to fly me out to it, and I'm like, God, you don't understand how different it is there than it is here right now.
Right. Yeah. I know. Every time I complain about like 40 or 50 degrees, people go off in the comments like, you don't even know what cold is.
Yeah, they're right to do it, because we are you're out here for 2 weeks, you just become the biggest vagina about that stuff. It's so true. Like, it's just impossible for us to keep like a sane perspective. But I'm not from here, so I have a better perspective maybe.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, Nick, it's been awesome. I'm glad that we got really deep into like the psychological despair that Pokemon Go can sometimes send you into.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I kind of got to talk about it, because I feel like it's something that is not really good material for the channel. I don't think people want to hear about that too much.
Hopefully the fans of yours that find this will enjoy the darkness and the depth of it, because I'm sure that they've wondered it themselves. If you're over level 30, you have to have had a moment where you were like, what is this?
Yeah.
not even 30. You probably get there before that too.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Nick, thank you very much. His social media is on the screen. If you want to follow, please subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thank you very much. Check us out on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. That was fun. That's cool.
So Donkey's your cousin.
Yeah.
So I go to the poetry lounge, so I know who he is, but I didn't know that he was your cousin. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Poetry lounge, I'm trying to make him go with me one of these days.
I'll go. Check it out. She told me I couldn't film there. I was kind of.
You can't film there.
Yeah.
And you have to wait in line like really early to take me.